Hey, what's that? It is the 15th of October. How did that happen? It was just the first the other day, I swear. This month is going by really, really quick. Big game for the Dodgers yesterday, huh? That's one heck of a first inning.
Yeah, massive first inning. Yeah, definitely felt good knowing I made the right call to stack the Dodgers. Was going back and forth like all afternoon. So I'm one of those where it's funny. I didn't even tell you, but like I didn't like any of the pitching options. We talked about it. I ended up on Urias, and then I liked Houston bats, so I wasn't going to use Glass now and go hard on Houston and the Dodgers bats. So I kind of believed what we had talked about with Greinke, and I was like, man, Christian Javier is definitely going to pitch today. So I ended up using him. And I was like debating between Kyle Wright, Greinke, and Javier. I had Kyle Wright like in my lineups, and I was like, nah, I can't do it. And it had enough money. Javier was $100 more, so I got the Javier. And I can't be mad about not using Greinke because Kyle Wright would have completely ruined everything.
Yeah. His negative 400 was not very good, was it?
Oh, that's one of the worst playoff starts. I can remember. The Dodgers were just all over him. And we talk about this a lot, though, like the little things like that first call, the Mookie Betts single. I'm surprised they overturned it. Like, I thought he was safe, but I thought they would just go with whatever the call on the field was. You think about that, like, all of a sudden, if he gets called out there, like, it's a whole different series. They scored 10 runs with 2 outs in that inning.
It's crazy. So I missed the first couple minutes of that game. And so I didn't see that play live. But like watching the replay, I'm like, oh my God, how did you ever call him out in the first place? Like he's clearly safe.
For me, it did not seem like that at all. Really? Like it was
Now,
barely.
maybe it's because I'm going into it thinking like I already know he's safe and been called safe. And then when I watch the replay, I'm like, oh, he's obviously safe. Like I get it's bang bang live, but like I also probably went into it with like knowing that it had already been overturned, so it was like easy to think that way.
For sure.
Obviously, guys, we are going to just do like a members only video for everybody today, and just kind of discuss the whole thing. But I mean, there's a home run derby just left and right, and Seager and Bellinger and Muncy and Rios.
My top lineup yesterday didn't even have Corey Seager, which is crazy. It had Carlos Correa, who had a 0, which is nuts to think about. I've never seen, there were so many good plays from the Dodgers yesterday. Obviously, it was definitely a situation, no Dodgers, no cash.
Yep. The flip side of that is just talking to a lot of people, even just like this morning already and last night, like it's a lot of people who stack Dodgers didn't even place. Like that
Right?
is like that is the argument we talk about when we talk about fading popular teams, because the Dodgers were obvious yesterday. Even you, when we're debating it, you're like, yeah, I know they're obvious. It's just to me like taking the contrarian play, because there's a lot of people who sat the Dodgers yesterday and still didn't even finish in the money because everybody had them.
That's a great point. That's the best point we brought up this morning. 2 out of my 3 lineups, didn't cash, and I used Dodgers in all 3 lineups. I had, Muncy in 2 or 3, Bellinger in 2 or 3. I had Seager in 1. I had all the Dodgers. So you're so right about that. It's not just your point about like, if I know plenty of people that stacked Dodgers yesterday and didn't cash. So you're just right on there.
Yeah, I mean, because everybody had him. Seager was 57% owned in the GPPs I played him. He was our cover boy yesterday. I said he was a must for me. I played him in all 3 lineups. And I still agree. He was obviously a must, but like you said, your best lineup didn't have him. You still like everybody does. Now, if he has a bad day and you have another shortstop that outscores him by 10, it speaks to the contrarian method. The flip side of that is if you like a team and they are popular, you still should play them.
Yeah, you have to really pick your spots, right? Because the Dodgers got a lot of love yesterday. But maybe they didn't get enough love considering the spot they were in. Now, that's easy to say, hindsight, and they were obviously the most popular team, but it's not just a situation. I know you can agree with this for sure. It's not just a situation where it's like, oh, this team is high owned, I need to fade. This team is low owned, I need to use. You have to really look into it, on a case by case basis.
Yeah, for sure. All right, so let's talk about today's slate. And just looking at the pitching options, it's really difficult not to play Kershaw and Blake Snell, knowing that these other 2 guys are probably short leash opener type of situations. Is there some different guy that you're thinking about throwing in there?
No, but is this Garcia like definitely pitching for Houston today?
I mean, I don't have any reason to believe otherwise, but I can't imagine he's going very far. I'm sure they're having somebody else come in.
Yeah, probably Valdez.
Well, if that's the case.
I'm seeing it as undecided, and I honestly had been seeing that Valdez was going to pitch on 3 days rest today. I had seen that a lot last night.
Well, then my first thoughts were, guys, he's been phenomenal. If that is a theory, okay. But if you can find that information somewhere, that's interesting because there'll be a lot of people who will not look that far.
For sure. So just something to watch out for. He might even be starting this game. We don't know. If they're going to use him, maybe they will just start him. We just don't know. Keep your ears open.
It's possible. He's been really good. So they don't even have his last start up here. He's been phenomenal lately. If it's secret, it's under the radar, I can, absolutely get on board. I don't know who you'd want to play him over, whether it's Kershaw or Blake Snell. Snell got the dub game 1, but he didn't pitch well.
Yeah. On that question, who's your favorite, Snell or Kershaw?
I mean, probably Kershaw.
Same.
I don't think they'd pitch him if he wasn't ready.
Agreed.
It's a good spot to get the win with the way these bats are rolling. So, take that for what it's worth. It's good in his opener against Milwaukee. Part of that's bad Milwaukee. Part of that's good. Kershaw, he was not as good in the second time around. He was all right, but I don't know. I'd still say probably Kershaw.
Yeah, I agree with that. I agree.
So it's tough not to just roll right here. And again, we'll watch the pitching station throughout the day. It could change. It could stay with this. If you get good information about who Houston's going with, I can absolutely get that pivot, especially if you think it's low owned and you're just trying to be different.
Yeah. We'll see what happens. I mean, I haven't seen DK is the only place I've seen that this Garcia starting. I'm wondering where they got that from.
Oh no. I would just suggest keeping your eyes peeled. Maybe you'll find something different, guys. That's obviously pretty early in the morning, but we figured we'd drop the video early in the morning. It's up there for you guys to kind of, keep your eyes peeled for it. I'm not playing Bryce Wilson, I'll tell you that much.
I mean, no. It's crazy if the Braves are like throwing these bullpen. I mean, all of a sudden, like they look like they're in trouble, right?
Well, that's what makes the playoffs so funky this year is if you're very heavy on your top starters and you get to lean on them in other years where they could pitch, 3 times hypothetically if they could go 1, 4, and 7 with no travel on every day, it does not play well. A deeper rotation, it's an odd year for the playoffs like that.
And that is one thing the Dodgers do have. They've got a lot of depth.
Yeah, they're a pretty good baseball team. My God, I still can't get over how that offense went off yesterday. So if you're just looking at the catcher position, Will Smith is probably your top option, but, give me some Mike Zunino or Martin Maldonado if you need to save some money.
Yeah, which you're going to need to save some money. So, yeah, obviously Will Smith is the optimal catcher here, but I don't mind spending down here at all.
Yeah, because I don't look at Will Smith as a top priority of the expensive Dodger bets.
I like him. I mean, he's my favorite catcher. I get that point, though. I think that, I see what you're saying, but I also think that, like, he's in the best matchup, in the best lineup, and those other catchers, Zunino and Maldonado, could easily get 0.
Sure. I just don't want to play Will Smith and skip, Mookie Betts because I can't afford him now.
Right. I feel like the difference between Smith and Zunino might be bigger than Betts and insert outfielder $1,200 cheaper.
Fair enough. No arguments on that point. You guys know who Martin Maldonado and Mike Zunino are. Mike Zunino is a massive human being who hits some long home runs. He strikes. This guy batted 15 times. He'll strike out 13 times, hit a bloop single and 1 home run or something like that.
Yeah, I mean, it seems like the easy way to go here is to stack Tampa and to stack the Dodgers here. If Valdez is pitching here, like let's just under the hypothetical he is, who would be your second favorite offense?
I mean, Kershaw is probably my favorite pitcher, but I mean, I like the idea of the Braves.
Okay. I kind of like the idea of Houston against Snell, who has not been like dominant this year. I'm right now, I'd rather pick on Snell than Valdez, as crazy as that is.
Valdez has been very good lately. It's not been a great year for Blake Snell. Strikeout numbers are down a little bit. He's still pretty good, but Houston really, they made him work in that first start.
It's just if Valdez pitches, and I'm sure you can get on board with this. Like, it's a question because you're going to have to use it like more than just the Dodgers.
Yeah. Look, man, like I don't love Yuli Gurriel versus Blake Snell, but for me, it's like if you can get up to Muncy, great. If you want to go super, because I mean, the Braves will be low owned today.
Yeah, they will be low owned. Like even yesterday, you saw them. Like Freeman was 28%, which I thought was pretty low for him because he had been higher the first two games against the lefty yesterday. Today, you're going to see him. I wouldn't be surprised to see him under 20% at all.
Because I got to assume like Clayton Kershaw, especially with the pitching options out there, what's Kershaw going to be like 90% in cash games, 75 in GPPs?
Yeah, something like that. I mean, maybe even more. Glass now was 75% in GPPs last night.
So by going the opposite route right here, that's something I can get on board with because it goes back to like he's got back problems. Maybe that spurs up. He's never been like amazing consistently in the playoffs. He's only really been good in closeout games, which is weird that the pressure gets to him in less stressful situations. It's odd. So this is not a situation he's excelled in the past. He's my favorite pitcher, but I can see the argument for playing the Braves against him.
Man, the GBP light is shining bright in you like this whole playoffs, and I love it. I'm with you, man. Like, it's just the leverage. Like, they're really good also, and the leverage alone. So, I mean, even last night or yesterday, like Urias ended up being very solid, and you kind of needed him on that slate, but that could have gone much different if that Albies ball, goes over Bellinger's head.
Yes, it could have. That was Urias was much better later in that start. Like you kind of wonder, like what happens?
He might not have made it there
if he's not up 11-0. Also, like if the game is 1-0 at the end of the first inning, and he hasn't had to sit there for 45 minutes, like waiting to pitch. For all we know, he goes out and he's lights out and strikes out the first three guys. You just never are going to know. The way that sitting there for almost an hour watching your team put up 11 runs can affect how you go out there and approach it. He had to sit again later in the game for another one of those high-scoring innings. Like it was a weird start for him.
Yeah, it was bizarre.
So what I'd say about Gurriel is, he hasn't done much that's impressive throughout the series, but 2,800 is really, really cheap and might be a good place to go for some cap space. And if you're not doing that, then Max Muncy starting to look real good.
Yeah, real good. I mean, crushed that grand slam last night off a lefty. He's the top. He's the top on paper play here. If you can get there,
you're in a spot with these two pitchers. Even if you pivot to Valdez off of either one of these guys, you're going to be sitting at about 4,100 to 4,000 per offensive guy. You're going to have to make some decisions. Is Max Muncy your priority? I understand if it is, but you got to look at him and Seager and Will Smith and Cody Bellinger and Mookie Betts, and you're probably only going to get 3 or 4 of them, so you can't get all of them.
Yeah, definitely. And I think you need to decide, like, if it's Houston you like or Tampa. It's probably not going to be Atlanta because we're using Kershaw. Like, your point about using Atlanta in tournaments is well taken, but, like, making one line, it's really hard to go there.
Absolutely. Like, if I'm playing one lineup today, I haven't decided how I'm going to approach this yet. I will not be playing Atlanta. However, there is a part of me that's like, if I just do, like, those small dollar 3-entry max like I did the other day and did yesterday, I got no problem with the idea of just maybe stack Atlanta 3 times and just hope that you're the one guy that, not the one guy, but you get this one right. And if you do, you're going to be looking really, really good. And I'd probably play them, with some Dodgers. That's the case where maybe I'd go like Snell and Valdez.
Yeah, I'm with that. I mean, I love the gamesmanship theory there.
And the other thing about that is like the Braves and Dodgers offenses are just better than the Astros and the Rays. The Astros and Rays are not scrubs, but the Braves and Dodgers, they got stolen base guys, they got power, they got everything.
So the Astros and the Rays are good. I would say it's weird. I'm not sure what I would say the Astros are because going into this year, like you would put them on like the Braves and Dodgers level, and they're playing well right now. But I still don't put them on that level because they were bad this year. They're an interesting case, though.
For sure. Okay. As far as second base goes, I mean, Altuve's got a couple of home runs now, and he's got a lot of defensive woes to make up for. I can absolutely get on board with playing him against Blake Snell. Otherwise, the same thing goes for the Braves. Ozzie Albies home runs 2 straight games and then missed one by about a foot last night. Otherwise,
Diaz.
Yeah, Diaz at 3K is your premier spend down option.
Yeah, did you see Tampa pinch hit Brandon Lau last night?
Did he get a hit?
No, he struck out. They pinch hit him with the bases loaded, I'm pretty sure, and he struck out on 3 pitches.
Yeah, not surprised right there. Speaking of strikeouts, so I liked Urias over Greinke on overlay yesterday, and I got it at 2.5, and then I got it again at 3. And
Right.
one of the things that's fun is even in a loss yesterday, and I bet that went bigger than normal. Like I was feeling really good about Urias after his start was complete, thinking Greinke would have to have his best playoff performance in about a half a decade in order to beat that. And Greinke was very good last night. The last guy Greinke faced,
That
bases
was,
loaded,
oh my,
3-2. All one thing is just don't strike out. Because if you strike out, those 2 points will put you in a spot that if you get the dub, then it's going to beat what I have. If this guy even just grounds out, I'm golden. Of course, he strikes out. Tampa hustles late to like try to get him away from the W, and of course, he gets out of it on a line out, everything like that. It was just so rough.
yeah, I'm sure it was a little bit rougher for me considering I had Javier who walked the first guy in the ninth, then they decided to pull him, and everyone around me had Greinke. So yeah, if Greinke doesn't get that K, and he shouldn't have got that K because there were 2 balls that were called strikes there, like yeah, that probably cost me like thousands and thousands of dollars to be honest.
Ugh, that's brutal. So refs messed that one up for me then, and then the umps, and I got the. I told you I did that in my big money fantasy league. Tannehill was over the line, and they didn't call it back on that touchdown as well. So like, that is DFS and fantasy sports for you right there. Sports betting as well for all of you guys out there. Like I'm just in a rut of everything I win by a lot, but I'm losing everything close for the last 2 weeks. It's frustrating, and it's hard to keep your cool some days.
Mm-hmm.
So, I mean, I'm sure most of you guys understand that. I'm on Twitter. I'm on Facebook. I understand. I see all the social media messages from all over the different DFS platforms. It's a tough thing to do.
Yes, it is.
So, okay, back to second base, though. So, yeah, I'm kind of looking at Diaz or Altuve, otherwise Ozzy Albies.
Mm-hmm.
Third base, Turner has not been impressive to me. So, as far as the big money Dodgers bats go, he is not a top priority. How about you?
If I'm stacking the Dodgers, I want him, but I'm making one lineup. He's not in the optimal lineup. So just depends how you're viewing it. Like if I'm making 3 lineups, I'm going to have every piece of the Dodgers if that's what I'm going hard after.
Sure. I mean, if you're stacking the Dodgers 3 times, I get that. But in an optimal lineup, Justin Turner is not my high money priority as far as the Dodger bats go.
Mm-hmm. I agreed.
Now, if Edwin Rios is in there again today, great. He was obviously, I know I saw you hard recommended him in the write-up yesterday. Obviously, the first inning home run looked really good.
Yeah, I'm sure he'll be right back in there. Another nice matchup with the platoon split. So I'm not sure if they give AJ Pollock to start. Although, why would you change anything after yesterday?
Well, I mean, he's day to day, so I don't know what that means.
Nah, he was day to day, but going into the series,
Okay.
like they didn't take that away. DK is always messing up with like all their stuff.
Yeah, it's not fun. So, yeah, Turner, not a priority. I mean, we get Bregman, obviously, against Snell, but I think I'll probably be looking for one of the Tampa Bay guys or Rios. If Rios is in the lineup, I love the cap savings right there.
Makes sense.
Corey Seager is just a man on a mission. Like, he is a priority for me.
I get that. I also like Carlos Correa here, and I think Swanson's interesting in tournaments. And Adames with the late double last night. Like, I think all the shortstops are in play here, personally.
So in an optimal lineup, I think we would agree, though, you play Corey Seager. But he is, like we described yesterday, big chalk. So this is a good position. And against Wilson, like, think about this. Correa against Snell and Swanson against Kershaw. I mean, even in GPPs, what do you think Seager is going to be, 60% today?
Something like that.
So there's a gamesmanship idea to it.
Hell yeah. I mean, anything that gets to be that ownership, to be honest, like I'm about fading. I'll use Seager once because I'm going to use all the Dodgers and I'm going to want a little exposure. But if I had to bet on Seager or the field today, like who is going to score the most, someone from the field or Seager, I'm taking the field all day.
I'll take Seager against the field today. Gentleman's agreement.
Done.
All right. And then in the outfield, obviously, you guys know Bellinger's starting to look real good. Obviously, Betts is very, very good. The Dodgers are in a great spot again today. They're going to be popular for all the obvious reasons. I suggest getting as much of them in there as you can. How you make your decisions, that's up to you and how hard you want to go in, but they're going to be popular for good reasons.
Yeah, definitely. Ozuna's price stands out here, too.
It does. What is his career like against Clayton Kershaw? 2 of 14 with 7 strikeouts. All right. I mean, not great, but it's not like it's a monster sample size.
Yeah, I'm not playing him because of that. I'm certainly not playing him because of that, but if he hits a home run at 4,100, you're good. Margot led off yesterday. Could easily see that again. Jack Peterson went 4 for 6. There's value all over this slate. I mean, Peterson was in my best line. He was one of the lowest owned pieces of the Dodgers yesterday.
Yeah. And even if he's starting at the bottom of a lineup, JJ Redick is 2,300. Like if you just really need to complete a lineup and get all the high price guys in there. Although I might just play Pache.
Yeah, Reddick hasn't been starting versus lefties anyways.
Pache at 2K, that could help you out.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, especially if you're looking to stack Dodgers, that will probably be a popular build. 5 stack Dodgers with Pache and 2 other cheap guys.
All right, so if I'm building an optimal lineup as it stands right now, Snell and Kershaw, Corey Seager. Third base, I think we both agreed. Like, I mean, I agree with your points. If you're stacking Dodgers, you're going to want a piece of Turner if you're playing a little bit more. But, let's hope they go with Edwin Rios because that's going to make life a lot easier, right?
Yes.
Okay. Second base, I'm going to come back to second base because Altuve is my favorite, but it's not a priority necessarily.
I will say a guy that's going to be low owned on the Dodgers than he was yesterday is Chris Taylor.
Yeah, down in the 9 hole.
Yeah, and people will want 5 other Dodgers, like to your point about Will Smith, which is valid. And it's true about like Taylor in an optimal line. But like I said about Turner, if I'm using all Dodgers, I want Taylor in one.
I got you. Can we do Muncy, Rios, Seager?
Definitely. There's cheap outfielders all over.
Betts and Ballinger.
Pache.
Yeah, I think that's where you put Pache in there. And even though, like, I agree with you, he helps the build, people are still hesitant to play bottom of the order guys.
I think because he homered yesterday, you'll see his ownership. Like, he was low owned yesterday, like 5% owned. I think you see him 4 times that today. So he's not chalk, but I do think he's much more owned today.
All right. So if you went with a Maldonado, that would allow you to get Kiki Hernandez if he was in the lineup. I don't think he will be. So you're probably going to have to hope that Diaz plays in order to get this lineup roll.
Or Camargo, who made the lineup yesterday.
Good point. With a lefty on the mound, he could again.
I'm like confident Diaz makes it, though. Don't you think?
I would think so with the lefty on the mound.
It's not like Josh Reddick has done anything for them. And the last time they faced a lefty, he was in the lineup. He pinch hit yesterday or 2 days ago. I would be surprised if he didn't make the lineup, personally.
I mean, again, Altuve is my favorite second baseman, but he's not a priority in an optimal lineup. My optimal lineup, I think we agree, it's going to be heavy on the Dodgers. They're looking like the Dodgers again.
I do think you could go like here, like you could go like Choi and Altuve if you wanted to, though.
Sure, definitely.
Instead of Muncy, just because you have 4 Dodgers, like, Muncy's the better play there, but, Diaz and Camargo aren't, even if those guys make the lineup, those guys aren't studs, obviously.
Definitely. I can get on board with that. I don't know. I think this is a pretty common like cash game type of build.
Yes. And maybe even go Zanino. I don't know if that helps you at all, but
no, he's more expensive.
Oh, he is? Okay.
$100 more.
Maybe you get Michael Perez in the lineup today,
Possible. So, the alternative kind of lineup that we kind of thought about was under the idea that we find out Valdez is starting. And if you want to get nuts and just go with the pitchers in this game, skip Kershaw, and then go with like an Atlanta, Dodgers type of stack. You can get like d'Arnaud right there, Freddie Freeman, Ozzie Albies, Edwin Rios, Corey Seager, Pache, and then can you do Bellinger Acuna? I think that slides right in there nicely. And I'm missing Betts, so I'll probably would want to play around with this. But the Atlanta Braves and Dodgers offenses are really good. And again, not an optimal lineup would I skip Kershaw, but this is an interesting idea to be a little bit different because this stack won't be super common.
No, I mean, Braves aren't going to be – the expensive Braves won't be crazy. Well, they'll be the lowest owned studs on the slate by far. And I also feel like Houston, that was a big deal for me yesterday, is that Glasnow wasn't good. Valdez ended up being better dollar for dollar than Glasnow. So the fact that I use Houston bats, like Springer was 13% owned, and he was awesome. I think you could see something similar here because Snell's going to be very popular. So I think Houston is where I'd go to get different also. Houston and the Dodgers, just like yesterday.
Yeah, because I mean, I don't love Kershaw or Snell. My favorite pitcher is Kershaw. We agree on that. I think most people are going to agree on that because he's Clayton Kershaw. He's going to be a big name thing. The same thing goes with Blake Snell, especially if the slate if DK runs into the start of this slate with the same pitchers up there, I mean, Snell and Kershaw are going to be overwhelming chalk, making Houston and Atlanta just very, very low owned by comparison.
No doubt about it.
And I mean, I don't think you love Snell or Kershaw. It's just when you're given the other options, they're just heads and shoulders better.
I really want Valdez on this slate because otherwise you're almost forced to play those two.
And the announcement, like if Valdez becomes a starter, then he's going to get some love, and it'll be split between the three of them, right? But if like they don't come out and announce that very well, but like you can hear rumblings, and if you have to like really do research on that, as smart as the DFS public is at this point of the season, there's a lot of people who are just making lineups to have fun, and they're not going to be doing that kind of like deeper research.
I mean, always that's true. I'm with you. Like we forget how small like our community is, and how most of the people playing are, people just trying to have fun that evening, that whatever. Obviously the higher dollar you get, that's not true, but I'm with you 100%.
Now, if you could do me a big favor, if you could reach out to my kids and tell them that the community of people that play DFS is really small and why my YouTube videos will never get 20 million views, it'd be cool. I would look a lot cooler to them because they're always like, oh, look, my Roblox videos get 3 million views and you got 750. I'm like, well, there aren't that many people that want to watch this stuff. Come on, man.
What's Roadblocks?
It's a stupid kids game.
Okay.
Pretty much the only thing that's keeping my son sanity throughout this whole quarantine ordeal.
I'm like 3.5 million views. I should probably know what that is, right?
Yeah, it's nothing you're going to be interested in. It's trash. It's terrible. Kids have the worst taste in YouTube videos.
Oh, well, I'm glad I'm not missing out then.
They see all my politics stuff and they're announced and they're like, this is boring. And I'm like, well, I don't want to watch Roblox and stuff videos either. So to each his own.
Yep.
All right. So we see this slate pretty similar. We agree Kershaw's
We saw it pretty similar yesterday too.
Yeah. We agree Kershaw's the best pitcher on this one. I don't think that's even really that much of an argument. I think the whole field will see it that way. And the gamesmanship idea of going with the Braves right here, I mean, I can definitely get on board with it. The Braves are good. This is a big gut check moment for Atlanta. Who are you guys? Because if the Dodgers win this game, I have very little doubt in my mind they win the series.
Yeah, I know A-Rod was saying last night that this is the biggest start of Kershaw's career. And I don't disagree with that. And I'll say this.
Well, I mean, don't you think some of his World Series starts might have been bigger?
Yeah, probably. Although right now this seems like his biggest one, right?
Yeah, I mean, this is a big game. I mean, Atlanta's got a bright future, so I fully agree they'll be back here again. But I think this game is a really, really big deal for them. I struggle to see them winning this series if this game does not go in their direction and they lose all the momentum that they had.
Agreed 100%. And from the Dodgers side, they have to win this game. Kershaw versus Bryce Wilson. They have to win this game for all intents and purposes. If they go down 3-1 here, I think they're going to really struggle to come back. I'll say this about using Kershaw / the Braves on this slate. If I were someone that in one lineup I played this and then completely independent I played this, I would do that. I'd use Kershaw in one and I'd maybe use Braves in one, etc. But I don't do that. I really plant my flag. So if I plant my flag on Kershaw or the Braves, if I plant my flag on the Braves here, I'll use some Braves in all my lineups. If I plant my flag on Kershaw, I'll use Kershaw in all my lineups.
Yeah, I mostly do that. Again, the other day it worked out where I did a 3-3 max.
I'm surprised to hear that.
Yeah, because it's not how I normally play.
Right.
And you spread yourself thin, but on a 4-game slate though, it's also a little bit different. If you're playing a 3-game slate or a 3-entry max, and there's 24 teams out there.
Get it, 100% get it. I think it makes a lot of sense. I just cannot get myself to do it. I don't like to play that way. I think that it makes sense and obviously worked out, and it's not hard to see why it makes sense because there's so few options.
Yeah. That's kind of the fun part about the baseball DFS side is all the different slate sizes make such a big difference. I think the size of the slate in baseball makes a way bigger difference than in the other sports.
100% agreed. And I really like these smaller slates.
Yeah, I like the playoff side of it. I like playoff DFS because
you love playoff DFS. I really think it gets you to really start thinking outside the box, which is interesting.
Yeah, because when you're trying to evaluate something based on one of 82 games, it just doesn't do as much for me. But when this is a must-win situation, you got risers and chokers and stuff like that.
Yeah.
totally off the side. I saw this thing on Facebook the other day. It's like the Bucks should be calling Paul George to like try to get him a trade for him. I was like, really? The Bucks have choked in the playoffs 2 years in a row. Why would they want to add Paul George? They want to choke in the first round next year?
Right? Yeah.
Like that's the last guy Milwaukee needs to add Paul George to their collection of chokers.
No, why the hell would they have it? Paul George just doesn't fit there either. I mean, they need like no.
Like you need a star who can get you a bucket when it matters. And Paul George in the playoffs ain't that guy.
Chris Paul's a much better fit.
For sure. Absolutely agree. And then I was talking to this guy not really talking to him. This guy was like in one of the Facebook groups that I'm in for sports, like proposing all these trades. And he's like Milwaukee and Miami, and he put together the Bucks trade Giannis to the Heat for Duncan Robinson, Nunn, and then like 2 throw-ins, Myers Leonard and Derek Jones Jr. I'm like, this makes absolutely zero sense. He's like, well, the Heat, we get Giannis. How does that not make sense for him? Like, yeah, it makes sense for the Heat. What does Milwaukee get out of this? A guy who couldn't even play in the playoffs before Dragic got hurt, and a aspiring JJ Redick and Duncan Robinson?
Yeah, there's no way the Bucks would ever deal Giannis for that. I mean, that would look like, just from a landscape picture, like that would look so bad for them to do that deal. They would just rather have him walk away than make a deal like that.
Absolutely, because it's kind of like the same thing, like you as a Cleveland guy with LeBron. It's a little different because LeBron's, Ohio born and bred, but like you don't get superstars unless you draft them or trade for them. And even then, a lot of times those guys end up leaving. Like you cannot move on from a superstar.
No.
Unless you get some sort of package that is like enormous. And Duncan Robinson and Nunn ain't those guys.
No, unless like you are getting an enormous package or they're like forcing their way out. Otherwise, like you can't do it. Cannot do it.
No, that's where like NBA stars want to go to cool places. And as guys who live in Wisconsin and Cleveland, we know we're not the coolest places.
Well, as far as Giannis goes, as long as he's not asking for a trade, they will never deal him as far as I'm concerned.
It would be crazy to do that, especially if you're not getting anything in return.
I can't imagine a package that would be good enough for them to accept a deal, but that is not even – I mean, they wouldn't even accept that for Middleton. I mean, no.
Well, I mean, like, you could get me thinking, like, if the Heat, like, said, well, we're going to give you Bam Adebayo and Tyler Hero and, Duncan Robinson, and you really think, like, in your heart of hearts that Giannis is leaving? Like, I could understand that because Bam's a stud and Hero looks like a stud. Hero's from Wisconsin, too. I think you could sell people on that. Like, you got to get something.
Yeah, like Bam, Hero, and picks would be the minimum, in my opinion.
For sure.
But Miami's not looking to do that either.
No, they just went 6 games with the NBA champions. So why would they want to make any moves?
I thought you were calling Hero and aspiring JJ Redick, and I was like, damn, but you were calling Duncan Robinson that.
Yeah, can't play defense, shoots the 3 ball, does nothing else.
A guy I think I know we're very off topic, but man, we talk about this guy a lot that would be really good on the Bucks is Bradley Beal.
Look great over there. I mean, because he is a guy who can get himself a bucket, excellent free throw shooter at the end of the game. I would be aggressively trying to make that move.
He's played with another superstar, not nearly as good as Giannis, and never like complained at all. I think would be perfect in that role.
Like, I don't know how you get him,
right?
Because I don't want to just move Middleton for him. Because at that point, it's more or less. You could say Beal's a little better than Middleton.
Right.
I can get on board with that, but it's not a monster move right there.
You're cutting off your nose to spite your face if you deal Middleton for him. Like, I agree with you. It's a tiny bit of an upgrade, but like you do the deal to get Beal, so you have Giannis, Middleton, and Beal.
Right. Like if you could somehow get Bledsoe, DiVincenzo, and anything else that's not Middleton, Giannis, and Brook Lopez, I'm on board.
Yeah, exactly. I'm with you 100% there.
Just, the Bucks have the second to last pick or right up there. So, I mean, where's the first rounder doesn't mean as much.
No, it doesn't. But I feel like Washington, if they get to a point where they have to deal Beal, that's not a bad offer. I mean, especially with DiVincenzo in there. I'm sure they have no interest in Bledsoe, but you never know. Deals that these teams make sometimes are surprising to say the least.
Yeah, and let's face it, Bledsoe and John Wall, there's a match not made in heaven.
Yeah, amen to that. That'd be hilarious.
We got 2 point guards now, and neither of them can shoot. Sign me up.
Yeah, right? That's hilarious.
I miss basketball already.
I know. I hope it starts. I wonder when it's going to start. I know I haven't heard much about that.
I think they talked about December 1st for free agency, but I don't really know either. And we would just be right in the start of it normally right now, and it just kind of sucks not having it.
Yeah, that is so weird to think about. I'll say that I think that it will start at somewhere towards the beginning of 2021. I'm hopeful.
Fingers crossed, guys. All right. Obviously, we got a little off tangent right here, but we don't have as much to talk about right now. Although we will talk overlay NFL here in a little bit and just get the NFL conversation flowing again.
Yeah, let's get it, man.